it's Diane. I have a journal to show you that I'm going to be listing in my Etsy shop. It's a fairy themed journal. It's made with a piece of cardstock that I folded and created a spine in it, and I stitched a piece of patchwork fabric over to cover it. My mother had hand pieced a bag full of these pieces and never put them into a quilt, and they moved, so she had to get rid of things, and I ended up with this bag. So I used this to cover my cardstock. You can see it better on the back side, because I thought the green color was really good for fairy theme. And then I used the seam binding is stitched in. Seam binding is stitched into the spine, and you can just tie it to keep it closed because it is fatter than most of my journals. I should have made it a bigger spine for as fat as the signatures were, because I included 2 signatures in it. But it works. It's fine. I don't mind that. As I was saying, I included this piece of decorative linen. I think it was not a doily, but it's a decorative table decoration. You can see this on this side, what it looked like. So in its entirety, I just stretched it across and wrapped it around the front and stitched it all on like that. And I like the way that looked. And then I put on these pieces from Graphic 45, Once Upon a Springtime. I have a few of those pieces in the book. And this is a Tim Holtz die cut, botanical, and I stamped Delight in Little Things and stitched that on also. Inside is a pocket, and most of the printables in here I found on Pinterest, and most of the tags are from Ephemera's Vintage Garden. Many of them are the freebies that she gives us, and also I purchased some tags from Tsunami Rose. So I went through my tag stash, things that I'd printed out, and pulled out all the ones that would be appropriate for a journal like this, with flowers and fairies and butterflies, and used a lot of those. So in this pocket, I used this printable and stitched her to a piece of DCWV cardstock, printed cardstock. And this is one of Denise's alterations tags from the Tattered Dream Etsy shop, and on the back of it I stamped "This Book Belongs To." And these were printables from Pinterest, and I fussy cut them and glued the girl sitting on the rose. She's a fairy, she's got wings. So that goes in that pocket. Then here's another printable with lace and these pink leaf trim things. There's a lot of sewing in this book. I think almost every page has some sewing in it. So this image was stitched to the darker background to make it stand out from the page. It's a very tiny margin there. And then stitched to the page as a pocket. And here's one of Ephemera's Vintage Garden tags tucked in there. There's a pocket folded over here with some lace and more of that pink trim. And some of the tags some of the stitching is done with off-white stitching, as I normally do, and some is done with dark green to give it some interest and contrast. And it's done with a very messy look, and that was on purpose because I saw that on Jabid Neri's channel, and I really like the way that looks, so I thought I'd try it. So here's one of the fairies, and here's a tag that I cut from extra paper. It's just cut from coffee dyed scrapbook paper, and a Graphic 45 little cutout is stitched to it. There's some salt on the coffee dyed paper to give it that speckled look, which I thought was great for a fairy journal. And up in the corner is this little Graphic 45 tag with some fibers. This camera is awfully low, I think. Let me see if I can raise it up a little bit, give you a better view. Let's try that, see if I don't knock the camera over. Okay, and then there's a little rose glued up there, some ledger paper. Here's another printable stitched on as a little tuck spot. And this is one of my very favorite fairy images. Sorry, I had to go get this. This is an old journal that I wrote in 2002. So I made a copy of that cover, and that's what this is. So I stitched it to coffee dyed paper, and that's a journaling card in there. Scrapbook paper and a pocket made from scrapbook paper, and it's folded over to give you the white border and a little bit more stability. Some trims there. Here's a printable with some fairies on it and a tag. If they're not stitched coffee dyed paper, they're distressed with distress inks. This has some stenciling and a little bit of stamping. This was a large paper doily that I stenciled through. It's another fairy image stitched to cardstock with a little bit of lace, and a printable stitched to coffee dyed paper. Some more stenciling and a little more stamping. And this is the center of the first signature, and this was from a journal, a blank journal that I had purchased years and years ago on clearance. I think we were on vacation somewhere, and I went into a bookshop, of course, and I found this journal, and I never used it, so then I've been taking pages out of it and using them in my journals. And this journal happened to have a lot of fairy themed images in it, so I used that one. And then I used my Tim Holtz punch, it's Stampin' Up! Punch that has, sorry, the glare, has 3 flowers that you punch out. So I used the smaller of them, smaller two, to make the little decorations for the ends of the threads. There's another little fairy at the top of the page there. And some more stenciling and stamping. This one has a definition banner that says happy. And this is a piece of fabric with daisies. It looks like a meadow where fairies might live. And I stitched a piece of cheesecloth, coffee dyed cheesecloth to it too. So you can just lift that flap up and journal underneath it. And this idea came from Nazi, from Amity Bloom. Amity Bloom is the name of her channel. I was inspired by her and by Jabid Neri and by Sagita from Sagita Coffee Stains, and I will try to link their channels, but the last time I said I would do that, I couldn't. I am not very tech savvy, but I will give it a shot again. Anyway, on this page, there's another little pocket with some trims and another fairy poppy. I think it's a poppy. No, it's a pansy. Stitched to coffee dyed paper. And then up here is a little packet of dewdrops and fairy dust. There's some little tiny pink beads and some little sequins in there. And I made this little pocket out of glassine and stitched it shut. And it's attached with this little garment pin through an eyelet. There's an eyelet on the little bag and an eyelet in the page so it won't tear. More ledger paper, and this is the frame is from Graphic 45, and then this little angel. I printed a sheet, or fairy, I printed a sheet of these little fairies from Pinterest, and they're just old-fashioned little girls that they put butterfly wings on to make them look like fairies. A lot of them were in seated positions, so I made her sit on the frame. And there's a little Graphic 45 image that I fussy cut from this sheet from Once Upon a Springtime. And she's stitched on with some seam binding and some fibers. These fibers that I purchased from Tattered Dream on Etsy from Denise. There's 2 doilies here, and this little image. And that's the first signature. Second signature has another pocket made with these, a pocket made from a printable with these Victorian looking angels, or fairies. I keep calling them angels. Fairies, and then trim at the bottom, and a Ephemera's Vintage Garden tag. And another pocket with some more lace and trim. This cute little image with this little girl. She's got fairies tied to a string like helium balloons. And then this one is another tag that I cut from the scrapbook paper and stitched around it. Stitched this little image on it. And this is another fussy cut image from the graphic 45 paper. This is a stamp that I have. I stamped it and cut it out. And here's a Tsunami Rose butterfly tag. I will be sticking something in there. I didn't do that yet. But there will be something in there. Another pocket, some more trim, a little bit more of that silvery fiber. A couple of tags. This one is Ephemera's Vintage Garden and this one is Tsunami Rose. This one has some stenciling and some stamping. And another little fairy, some trim lace, and another celandine fairy. Isn't she pretty? Some more stenciling and stamping. And here's another page from that journal. This one has a rabbit laying in the dandelions and a little fairy on this page. Here's another piece of the fabric and cheesecloth, more stenciling and stamping, and there's another little fairy bag, and this one is attached with 2 eyelets instead of with the garment pin, but if you want to write on the back you can flip that up and get it out of your way. Another pocket. I used to have a rubber stamp with this image and I don't know what happened to it. I couldn't find it. But I loved it because I am 10 years older than my youngest sister was, and I used to have to help her get dressed for school or church or whatever, and that's what this reminded me of. She's helping her sister with her bonnet. And so that's why I bought that stamp. And my youngest sister just passed away 2 months ago, so I wish I could find that stamp. I don't know if I gave it away in one of my purges or if I just haven't been able to locate it, but that image always reminds me of her. This is vintage music paper, and the stone fairy came from a magazine. And I had the same image in this book that I made for a swap. So probably the image was in the table of contents page, and then again in the story of the magazine. And I cut them both out and had them in my stash. And then this I stamped. It says priceless. There's a tag in there. And these are fussy cut roses from a printable sheet. Some more fibers. Some more doilies here, and this gorgeous image stitched to coffee dyed paper. And that's the back. And I will be gluing on my, I have it in this one, my little signature stamp where I put the date and my signature on it. That'll be stuck in here somewhere. And so this will be listed in my Etsy shop, and I hope you visit my shop and come back to see my channel. Leave a comment on my channel. I love to read the comments. Also, I've reached 4,000 subscribers. I've been watching the numbers climb, and when I figured when it got to 4,000 I would do a giveaway. So stay tuned. I'm going to do a giveaway of some vintage ephemera. If you've watched my haul videos, you know what kind of vintage ephemera I have. And not everybody likes vintage ephemera, so I think I'll also do another giveaway with non-vintage ephemera. So stay tuned, and I will show a video of what will be included and give you directions in how to enter for the giveaway. So I want to thank you all for being loyal subscribers and leaving nice comments and getting me up to 4,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back again. Bye.